Guess what, everyone? Book Pop is hosting a live podcasting event from Lake City Books in Madison, Wisconsin, and we want you to be there. It takes place on July 14th at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5, so come early and get your seat. Tickets are available now on the event page at lakecitybooks.com. Seating is limited, so get your tickets now. We can't wait to see you there. Hi. Welcome to Book Pop. I'm Jamie Anderson.
And I'm Molly Fish.
And today we're talking about book tracking apps.
Woohoo!
I have an article from Book Riot that gives me the best ones. And we have our personal opinions.
Yeah, what do they say is the best?
Well, it depends. I mean, it's pretty diplomatic. They give us a top 5 and then a good comparison and then which one is right for what kind of reader and how they want to track their stuff.
Can we talk about tracking in general? This is what we were just talking about before. We were like, oh, we should be talking about this on the pod. I really fell off. I used to use Goodreads, but again, owned by Amazon.
Mm-hmm. The other thing with that is like it became so much of a social thing. Like I would be getting notifications of what friends were reading what.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want to be influenced like that.
I don't follow anybody on these apps.
Well, that was my mistake.
Is that a hot take? I don't
follow them now.
Well, I talked to one of our younger staff members who says they can't leave Goodreads for any other app because all of their friends are on there and they want to see what their friends are reading. They want to update their friends. So I was like, oh, people really use this like social media. I might as well be on a private server with mine. Right. I'm not trying to follow anybody.
Right. Same.
This is for me that I track my reading.
Exactly. And I don't want to feel like I'm competing with how many books I just want to know how I'm consuming books.
So have you always tracked your reading?
I used to be really good at it, and I used Goodreads for a really long time, and then I just got overwhelmed. It felt like social media, and I quit Facebook, I quit Goodreads.
Good for you.
And then for a minute, I had like a book journal where I was writing down what I was reading.
Style.
Yes, and we all know how good I am at journaling, so that didn't last very long either. But then when I started working here, you turned me on to the one we use now, which we will talk about.
Are we saving it as a spoiler?
I don't know.
I was like, is she going to say it?
Okay, it's one that's not owned by Amazon, which is a big plus.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, it's called Storygraph. It gives you your stats. You can, on your homepage, you have what you're reading, what your current reads are, and you can track your progress in them. And it also has a feature that I recently started using when I redid my bookshelves, is telling you what books you own versus what books you've read or what books are on your to-be-read shelf or what books you read but you don't have the copy to.
And I didn't even know about this feature till you started doing this, and now can't wait to put my whole home library in.
Right?
That is such a good idea.
It is. And you can scan the ISBN on the back and it pulls the book right up.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's very convenient.
I'm all about inventory tracking and reports and metadata.
Yeah.
So this is why I started with Storygraph, because I was like, pie charts? Genre breakdowns by every possible way you could think of books. I just loved all the stats.
I use the free version of Storygraph. I don't know if you...
I don't know what I use.
It does.
Knowing me, I probably pay for the premium and don't use any of the premium features.
Right. The premium costs $4.99 a month. I believe that's still current, but it takes away the ads and you get more customized charts. And you can filter stats more advancedly. You can also import your Goodreads, which I hadn't been doing Goodreads, so I didn't import anything.
I had been doing it on and off, but when I switched over, I imported at least what I had. It was funny, though, because I was like, what are all these books that it's saying I read? Because it was probably from 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. And my memory is like a goldfish. Mm-hmm. So this is the other reason why it's really important for me to track what I read, because I will not remember.
Yep.
A couple years from now, maybe I'll be like, yeah, I know I read that book, but did I like it?
Right.
This job of owning a bookstore has created a whole new memory palace for me of books. It's more important to me and to my brain to keep information about books. However, I will still lose a lot over time. of the context. So it's really great for me to force myself to write a little review after, like give the star rating and write a little review of like just what I liked and what I didn't like so that I can refer back to it.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful.
Yeah. Speaking of memory, one of the top 5 book tracking apps, according to Book Riot, is Bookmurray.
Bookmurray.
Memory, Bookmurray, Bookmurray.
That's
right?
a dumb name. Sorry.
It took me so long to figure out why it was called that, but now the memory thing kind of just sparked me. But
What do they say about that one?
well, you can track how many books you read and how long it took you to read them. You can save quotes and take notes in the app. You can share reading accomplishments and reading statistics. You can also get a premium subscription for $3.49 a month or annually for $30.99 a month. There's also like, I think it's more timing how long it takes you to read a book is like the biggest feature of this.
I wonder how it's different though, because like when you are in Storygraph or Goodreads, you'll put the dates that you read something,
Right.
which gives you the timing. Maybe it's more, so it is more like a little more competitive of how fast you can read things.
I think so. This one says you can also take photos with your camera and upload to your gallery. You can update your reading status, pausing, abandoning, and marking books as read. That's all pretty standard.
Yeah.
You can track your purchases and rentals and put tags on books, which you can, I
It
mean,
seems like you said we could do that in
yeah,
Storygraph too,
you can
right?
do it like you own them. Yeah. You can group them together in collections. And there's also a free version of this where you don't have to pay for the premium. But it apparently has a very visually appealing design and it's user friendly in its application.
Okay. Bookmurray.
Bookmurray. Have you heard of Bookly?
No.
Also, not the greatest name.
LY?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Bookly's core features include adding reading goals, whether daily, monthly, or yearly, adding the number of minutes you want to read. Oh, so it's kind of like goal setting.
That's at least different
Yeah.
because you're only doing like macro yearly goals in a lot of these other apps.
Yeah. Keeping tabs on reminders. So that's pretty cool. Seeing basic stats such as pages read and time read, whether it's for 7 or 30 days. I guess you can like put a limit on that. Like I want to read so many minutes a week or so many pages a month. It has a personal assistant that pushes daily suggestions, thoughts, words of the day, and daily motivations.
Oh,
Okay, that's also different.
it's kind of cute.
It also has a pro version that's $4.99 a month, or a subscription for 6 months is $19.99, and a year subscription is $29.99. They also have a free version and a free trial.
I don't know about you, but I feel like when I start getting into those really micro level goal setting, it's like when you're trying to do like a food tracker app or like, okay, write down everything I eat or remind me to work out 4 times this week or remind me to floss every day. This is like a level of micromanagement that like it will never work coming from my phone. It has to come from within me
Yes.
somehow.
Yeah.
The phone reminder going off is not going to make me be like, oh yeah, I should go to the gym today.
Yeah.
I know I should go to the gym.
Right.
The phone reminder isn't going to change that.
Exactly.
And I feel like food tracking apps have always fallen off for me too. I can do it for like a week and then it just dies. So if
Yeah.
I were trying to read more, I don't know that like maybe I would do that goal setting for a week or so and try and get back in the habit. But I don't know that that would really work
Yeah.
for me personally.
It says you can set a timer, which is interesting.
That's also very like app based. So it's like a productivity hack where it's like, isn't this supposed to be fun though?
Right.
And you're supposed to enjoy
I
it.
agree. Like I just want to know, I have the goals within myself. I want to track them by seeing the number of pages I finish in a week, the number of books I read, and what genre of books.
Yeah, if it's like it's so bad that I have to sit down and say I need to read for an hour nonstop and I'm going to set a timer on this app and I'm going to take the trouble to like open the app and set the timer, I feel like something else has gone terribly wrong with my reading already.
Yeah. It also
But
says
maybe it's helpful for there's different kinds of people in this world, right?
Right.
So I believe that there is someone out there that needs that or that's helpful to. That's not me.
yeah, it seems like the biggest downfall of this is the free tier only allows you to add 10 books.
What? at a time, or?
Yeah. Cloud support is not even available. Okay. So it seems like the pro version or nothing with Bookly, but it does have some unique features that might interest some. The next one on this list is Storygraph, which we talked about as our favorite. And it says that it's like the most close to Goodreads in a lot of the ways that it tracks. And it can be like a social app. But we don't participate in the social aspect of it. We're selfish in the way we track our books.
And I'm just not trying to be competitive about
No.
it. That's not the vibe for me.
There is a feature on it at the bottom of the homepage that says like what's popular this week.
Yeah.
And I'm
I'll look through
intrigued by that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's all over the board and like older stuff and
Yeah, when it tries to recommend things to me, it will be all over the place.
over the
I was like,
board.
I don't know what algorithm this is, but it is not working. Maybe it's because I don't have any friends on Storygraph, so it's like we don't know what you
Sure.
like or what your friends like, so here's a bunch of junk.
yeah.
But it's like you see what I read and what I rate 5 stars. Wouldn't
Right.
you be able to do a little bit better job with your
Yeah.
algorithm? Should we open our Storygraphs and look at
yeah.
them? Or should we do that later?
I do have two more that I wanted to talk about, and then we should open our Storygraphs because I do want to talk more about Goodreads because Goodreads is a free app for tracking your books and your progress. It is owned by Amazon, and because it's free, then you as the user are the product.
Correct.
So you have to factor that into how they make money by using you.
Well said.
I think I got off Goodreads maybe in 2020. And there's also the whole sabotage that happens on Goodreads reviews, which gets so catty and is very interesting.
I know there's been some big drama recently about that.
Yeah.
Where people will just review bomb certain authors or certain books that have certain topics. What was the one recently? It was like last winter. I don't remember who was writing something, but it took place in Russia. And it was like historical fiction, but it took place in Russia. And people started review bombing this and they pulled the book.
Oh,
It was like a famous author.
wow.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh,
Elizabeth Gilbert was review bombed on Goodreads last year because it was a Russian family and like kind of seemed sympathetic to Russia. And it was right, it was still the height of the Ukrainian war. And
they just pulled the book. They
I
didn't
believe
publish
so.
it.
It got totally pulled after it got bombed. And I think she decided to pull the book.
Yeah.
She just said like, I'm not going to deal with this.
Yeah.
And so she decided to pull it.
Interesting. Google Sheets is another one that was brought up.
That's not an app.
I know, but you can apparently use a reading tracker template on Google Sheets.
Oh.
You can like customize your reading logs and
But then that's like,
it's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work.
You want to talk about stats?
Yeah.
Storygraph stats?
It's funny because when I open Storygraph, I only open it when I'm starting or finishing a book normally to either mark that I'm starting a new book or to mark that I finished a book. So I just opened it while we were podcasting and I got this little endorphin hit that I
Finished
normally
a book?
get, that I feel like I finished a book.
Yes.
Or like I'm starting a new book, which is also exciting.
Oh, I love that.
And so that's part of the joy of tracking for me is it gamifies it without being competitive about my numbers with other people. I still get joy of knowing that I finished something because like I'm a checkbox person. I love checking things off a list.
Yep.
So that is a nice little hit for me where I can be like, I finished a thing. And I love to read. So I love being like, oh, I'm starting a new book. Like that's also a really fun experience. And I get to go celebrate both of those things in this app. So I feel like it's been very positive for me tracking in general, but tracking in this app because it does give you a little way, maybe because I'm ahead of my goals, my reading goals for the year. So it's always like, you're doing so great. But I really like the app in general.
How many books do you have currently reading?
Currently reading, I have 2
Okay.
because I just finished one last night. One of them is Age of Magical Overthinking audiobook, like we talked about. And the other one is Eve by Kat Bohannon, which is my, like, if I have downtime at the store, I'll read a chapter of that. I never really have downtime at the store is my thing.
Yeah, because there's always something to do for the owner.
It's always something that I should be doing here that's not reading. It is a rare day where I go like, you know what? I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to sit and read when it's slow or whatever. So that doesn't really happen. I might have to just take that home and make it a nightstand book instead.
This might be a good pause to talk about what we're reading right now, because we didn't do that at the beginning.
We jumped right into it. What are you reading?
Well, okay, this is one that I recently finished, and it is This Summer Will Be Different, Carly Fortune. I just wanted a fun romance. I mean, it was
summertime.
Yep. But it starts out, the beginning of it was a little unbelievable. But then the rest of it wouldn't make sense without that. So you just had to invest in the story. So I did. And it was great. And it was a lot of fun. And it was a cute romance. It's like her best friend's brother. They spark up something before she knows it's her best friend's brother.
Cute.
And then they kind of hide it, but they're still dabbling, shall we say. But then there's a big investment at the end of it. And it was a cute romance.
All of the Carly Fortune books, I haven't read her yet, but they all have the gorgeous watercolor lake backdrop. Where does this take place?
I think this one is an island. What's Prince Edward Island? It takes place on Prince Edward Island mainly.
Isn't that Canada?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It is Canada because they're also in Toronto. Is she a Canadian author?
We're learning this in real time.
Email us. Tell us what we're wrong about.
Tell us all about Carly Fortune. We don't know anything.
But yeah,
that makes sense.
I liked it a lot.
It's a Canadian romance.
Canadian romance. And there's muscles involved.
Okay. We like muscles.
And a world champion shucker. And
that kind of muscles. We're talking clammy muscles. Not like the gun show. We're not going to the gun show. I get it. My bad.
Yeah.
My head was in the romance gutter, and I was just like, ooh, a muscly character.
Yeah. Prince Edward Island, Canadian romance. It's a delight.
Cute.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try one of those.
I also, on the note of Eve and how you just pick it up to kind of read it here and there. And we've talked about this before. I started All About Love by Bell Hooks this morning. And it's very much, I'm treating it as one of those meditative books.
Yes.
Like consuming a little bit at a time, which is a practice that I wanted to start with like essays or short stories or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm a few pages into it this morning, and it's very thought-provoking just on how we perceive love, how we were taught what love is, how complicated relationships, how love gets complicated in that and kind of distorts your understanding of what love actually is. And this whole concept that love was never defined explicitly. So it's hard for us as a collective society to know what that is. And I think we make a lot of excuses in certain situations about, I did it because I love you, but what does that really mean? And very thought-provoking. And yeah, I will talk more about that as I read more.
Really good one as digest it in small pieces and keep it with you for a long time.
Yes.
You'll be able to kind of spread it out.
Yeah.
That seems great for that.
Yeah.
I'm currently reading, what I just finished and marked off on my story graph literally last night was There by Tommy Orange. This came out back in 2020. I don't remember exactly. Paperback's out now. 2018. His follow-up Wandering Stars just came out recently.
I read Wandering Stars, but I hadn't read There, and it is kind of a sequel-ish, a continuation. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. But I don't feel like I lost anything from not reading this. Like I was still
And I think that makes sense because this is also very like multi-character perspective, and then they're all going to this powwow. But it also is across generations because there are, you have characters and you see them in childhood and then you see them later and they have children or grandchildren that are going to this powwow. And so you're seeing a large part of this community that's all centered around Oakland, California. Native community members and this big powwow they're going to. So I will say, again, this was not a 5-star read for me. It was beautiful and it was challenging. And it was kind of unrelentingly dark. And I can handle dark. It's nice if there's some kind of hopeful perspective, especially in a multi-perspective story that's broken up. It's like you're just jumping from one tragedy to another is how it felt. So I struggled a little bit with that because it just made it hard to pick up when you're reading it. These characters are so well developed and so tragic in all different ways. And it was hard then when you put it down to pick it back up again, knowing that you're kind of diving back into this tragedy. So I tried to really, I powered through like the second half all in one sitting, which I feel like maybe was a better way to digest it because I could see how the characters relate to each other because they are kind of all related, but he's not giving you a lot of breadcrumbs. He's not telling you the year or the time at the beginning of a chapter. It's the name of the character's perspective, but it could be it's the past. It could be it's the before the powwow. It could be it's after the powwow. It's during the powwow. So you're kind of like it's hard to overlap things. And you really have to remember the names to see how they all interact. But I mean, I'm really happy I read it. It was a peek into a world I don't know a lot about. And I feel grateful to have been given that authentic perspective. It does feel like I would like to hear about some of the other stories also that aren't so dark. So that, is maybe an opportunity for me to go reach out and find other stories because there are lots of great Indigenous writers out there. And it was there were some really great characters that will stick with me for a long time in there. It was something that I kind of had to force myself to finish though. Not gonna lie. But I'm happy I did. And it really did pick up as like it all kind of came together at the powwow and I now understood how all the characters related to each other. And so it had a climax. I couldn't put it down at that point by the time I was getting to the end because I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to these characters? But really you're like, which ones are going to die? And how? Because you knew it was going to be a lot of them. So it's a tragedy and there's a place for that in reading. And I have avoided sad books for a long time. I think we've talked about that before with reading tracking and reading goals. I really look at my genres and I try to keep it varied and I try to add a lot of diversity into my reading. But when I was going through a stressful time of opening a business or other stressful times, I will default to, I need feel-good stories and I'm not gonna get too dark. So I finally was at a great place where I was like, this is a book that has been on my list for a long time. And I saw Tommy Orange speak and he was so compelling and fantastic that I was like, I need to read one of his books. And I'm really happy I did. I'm happy I'm now in a place where I can listen to and read tougher stories and like not have it ruin my night, or ruin my mood because I can separate myself from that. But I think you have to be in the right place for it. And I don't think everyone always is. And I especially am like that, which is why I always want to offer recommendations with caveats and to allow people like, I want, trigger warnings basically. Like there's a lot of violence and sexual violence and drug and alcohol abuse and things in this book that, maybe if I were in a worse place or if people are not in a place to absorb that, maybe they should wait and read something else. So anyway, There by Tommy Orange. It was worth the pain and I am probably going to wait a little bit before I pick up Wandering Stars.
I've been in like the romance because I also finished Funny Story, but I'm still letting that soak in. So we have some time to talk about it. But then I did this Carly Fortune and I was like, okay, you need to get a little bit deeper.
Some vegetables. Like sometimes to me, I'm like, I got to balance my meal, right? Like I can't just eat ice cream for dinner every night. I have to balance out my reading meal. How does your genre spread looking on Storygraph?
I was just going to see, let's see what we're looking at. My moods.
Oh yeah. Let's start with moods.
a lot of emotional, mysterious, adventurous, funny, challenging, lighthearted, and inspiring are my top 7.
Top 7. Okay. I've got emotional as my top one. Adventurous, reflective, dark, lighthearted. Both of those somehow are equally big triangles in my pie. And mysterious and funny, I guess, is 7 if we're doing 7.
Okay.
I will say my smallest pie piece is challenging.
My smallest pie piece is informative. Don't teach me anything.
I don't even have informative on here. What does that mean?
I don't know.
None of my books are informative.
None of them.
Oh, my fiction nonfiction split is so bad right
Ridiculous.
now. We're talking, so for context, we're talking about 2024, right?
Yes, since the beginning of 2024.
So this is just our reading for the first 6 months of the year. And yeah.
I don't know whose is going to be worse, to be honest. My fiction and nonfiction is terrible. Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
89% fiction, 11% nonfiction.
You're better than me. I'm 93% fiction. Get out of here. That's so
we've said it
unbalanced.
before. We'll say it again.
We're fiction girlies.
We're fiction girlies.
Okay.
But All About Love by Bell Hooks is a nonfiction. I'm doing it.
Well, and as soon as I can finish Age of Magical Overthinking and mark that one as complete, it will give me another nonfiction.
That's
okay,
right.
but I also am just really unbalanced this year. This is why I wanted to do There and pick up some other more challenging reads.
Yeah.
Because my genre graph is so unbalanced. All right.
We're probably very different.
We are probably different.
Yeah.
I want to guess what your top genre is. You can guess what mine is.
Okay.
Mine's going to be, it's so obvious that.
I'm going to say fantasy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What do you think mine is?
Literary?
It is.
Yes.
It is. And I was kind of surprised about that, but maybe I shouldn't have been.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Is your second romance? Because you have been reading a lot of romance.
Romance is my 4th. I have literary, contemporary, historical, romance, science fiction are my top 5.
Nice. I have fantasy, romance. This is not surprising at all. Literary, historical, contemporary.
Okay.
I feel like we should do top 6 because normally LGBTQ is in my top 4. And now it's in 6th for me. So I got to work on that too. I'm going to get that up this month.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Especially this month. My LGBTQ is 7. I have mystery as my 6th. And then fantasy, magical realism.
Mine goes after contemporary, LGBTQ, young adult, memoir, dystopian.
And I am 50-50 with my format from print and audio.
That's amazing.
So I feel like I try to have one audio going and one print going at the same time. Well, sometimes I have more print, but
I have, for some reason, it says I have 4% digital, but I have not read a digital book this year. So I might have to go update that.
Oh, one of the editions,
yeah,
maybe?
I think I picked the wrong edition for something. Let's see. What other fun stats do we have in our story graphs? How many pages have you read so far? And how many books and how many pages? I wonder where's audio?
Where's pages?
Oh, I don't know. Mine's below most read
authors.
I see.
Okay. I have read 28 books so far this year.
Oh, you're beating me by 1.
No way.
27.
That's not right.
We're almost always tied.
We are. I'm surprised.
It took me a while to read There. I'm not going to lie.
It did. Also, 5 Broken Blades took you
I know.
way longer than any fantasy ever. Yeah.
I know. They both slowed me down. Those multi perspectives, not my favorite.
Yeah.
They slowed me down.
I have 9,561 pages.
Oh my God, I'm so close. I'm literally one book behind. 9,444.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we should race to get to 10,000.
No, that's the whole point.
Okay,
Don't race.
My competitive nature starts coming out. We can't compare things. Okay.
I think it's fun to compare, but you are the bookstore owner. You can read more than me, and I'm going to be fine with that. And I promise you, by the end of the year, you will have read far more than I have. This is wild that we're so close.
I mean, I don't get to read at the store.
That's true.
We've talked about.
I do. Sundays I get to read. I get to read a good chunk.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm. Most authors I've read is Emily Henry.
Oh, she's in my top as well. Because
Yeah.
I've read 2 of hers this year.
Same.
My top, though, is Naomi Novik because I read a little fantasy trilogy by
Oh,
her
yeah.
that I really liked. The
Okay.
Scholomance trilogy, which starts with A Deadly Education. It's like a Hogwarts for adults, like a kind of an evil Hogwarts magic school thing where they all have to just survive.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. I liked it, and they were like short books for fantasy, and so I just kind of read all 3 when I
Yeah.
was on vacation, and
Nice.
yeah. But anyway, so she's my most read author. I'm hoping to read another trilogy at some point this year, and then I'll have another.
Okay.
There.
Page numbers. How many books have you read that are over 500 pages?
4% of mine are over 500.
Same.
74% are 300 to 499.
68% for me. So then 29% are under 300 for me.
And I'm only 22 under 300. I've been reading some long ass books.
You
man.
do. But the fantasy ones, those are long. There's so much world building.
It's very true.
But that's why we love Storygraph. We get to see all of our stats and fun colored pie graphs and
I am
compare.
ahead. So what is your goal for the year?
Okay, well,
Because that's probably different.
that's true. I think I try to stay with a book a week. I don't know if that's still your goal, but you had
Yeah.
mentioned you try to at least do that. There was one year where my goal was 100 books in a year.
What?
And I had a job where I could read a lot at work. I did a lot of audiobooks then too. And I made it to 89.
Wow.
And I was very proud of my 89 books that I'd read.
Wow.
But I will never do that again. It just took so much effort to, what am I reading next? What am I reading next? And like here, that's an easy question to answer. But at
Yeah,
my
when
life
you're
then,
not in a bookstore all the time, it is harder to stay on top of.
yeah,
I feel like you can't have any downtime or like movie time or like TV time with your kids. And
yeah,
there's other stuff going on in life.
right.
I genuinely do not understand the people who read over 100 books a year every year.
No,
I just don't.
Like how?
There are some, I get that some people are like super fast readers.
Sure.
And they'll just sit down and read half a book a night. Maybe they don't watch TV at night,
Yeah,
which is a thing. I do love me some movies and TV.
me too. I have
Video
like,
games and crafting and,
yeah,
baking. And there are just like other things that I
Yeah.
do. And singing and performing.
right.
I don't have a lot of nights where I'm just like, I'm reading only.
Me neither. Usually, and when I'm home, it's like 20 minutes here or there that I
Yes.
read.
Yes.
I like to watch like a show with Stuart, and then I have my own shows.
Yeah,
And then I try and hang out with the boys.
exactly.
Yeah.
You guys have euchre tournaments and stuff, there's other stuff going on in life. So to me, I'm like, you must be, I don't know. I don't get it. But I mean, good for them.
Right.
That's awesome. I'm not trying to hold myself to that. And I
No.
don't think that it's necessarily better
Right.
to have read 140 books. I'm like, oh, did all those sink in?
Right. I don't remember. Yeah. I don't remember what I read in that year. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. It's probably on my Goodreads, but that's gone.
I don't think more is better in terms of reading.
Yeah.
I think it's good. So I keep trying to do a book a week. So my goal every year is 52. Last year I read 55 books. So I beat the goal,
Yeah.
but just a little bit. And I felt really good about that
Yeah.
because I do want to push myself to not, if I get in a slump of reading, I feel like that at least helps me push out of it. But that's just me comparing myself to me. It's
Right.
not me comparing myself to other people.
agree.
And that is just like a value that I have is that I want to be making sure I'm reading enough such that I can get through a book a week on average. And that is therefore a goal that I set not to be competitive, but just to make sure I am living the values that I want.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a different way to think about it. I think things sink in better. And when
Right.
you also, when you think about, okay, I'm only going to read that many books this year, because that's probably all I'm going to have time for. It does make you pick your books a little more carefully and think about things the way that we were talking about, where you like try to do maybe a different cross genre or
Right.
dang, I've already, my fantasy and romance, I've already read 10 of each of those and I'm only going to get 50 books this year. Maybe I should go put some other stuff in and get some other perspectives in my life. So
Yeah.
it's good for self-tracking. I feel like this reminds me of Age of Magical Thinking again, magical overthinking, and the comparison stuff that she talks about, and how toxic it can be.
Exactly.
And we don't need to be doing that.
Nope.
It does not create joy in your life or genuine happiness.
Yes.
Certainly doesn't create contentment. And I think finding your own way to make sure you meet your goals without having it being compared to other people is probably the best way to balance that I've found.
Yes. If anything, we inspire each other to go outside the box or to push through that book that is dark and deep. And
that's right. I think inspiring is a much better way to look at it than competing.
Yeah.
And to inspire other people or to be happy for other people who are doing different things than you and succeeding in different ways.
Absolutely.
If you think reading 200 books a year is a success for you, then I'm happy for you and good for you. That's not what success looks like for me.
Or me.
Life.
Nope.
That something has gone wrong in my life. Or maybe the internet has collapsed. And we're living in a post-apocalyptic world where I live in my bookstore with like a rifle and I do nothing but read and protect my books all day. That could be a world in the future.
Yeah, you'll definitely consume 200 books then.
Definitely. But I feel like then I'll only have these books. Oh man, there's going to be a whole barter system in the post-apocalyptic world. It'll bring our trade-in situation to a whole new level.
That's a book in itself.
Right? Like a post-apocalyptic bookstore.
Yeah.
Where they're just like trading, but you have to like protect it. And it's like, oh.
I would read that.
Yeah. All right. Somebody write that. It's a free idea. We're not writers. We're not writers here.
No. Short form, maybe. All right. Anything else?
No. I'm feeling good. We're both ahead of our goals so far. I'm 5 books ahead, it tells me. And I get to pick a new book to start tonight.
That's right.
So I'll open the app and get that little hit.
Get that little hit.
That little endorphin hit.
Endorphins.
Putting a book in.
Yay. I need to put All About Love in because I just started that this morning and I haven't had a chance. So that'll be in there for a minute though because I will be dabbling. All right. Thank you for listening to Book Pop. See you at the bookstore.
Bye.
Bye. You can find all these titles and more at lakecitybooks.com/bookpop. You can listen to Book Pop on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at Speak.Studio/bookpop. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and review. For a behind-the-scenes look, find us on YouTube at Book Pop the Podcast. Comment on today's episode by sending us an email at bookpoppodcast@gmail.com. Or find us on Instagram at Book Pop the Podcast.